I have no mouth and I must scream. The title alone sounds like pain incarnate, and honestly, the story lives up to it. Imagine this: Earth is gone. Not abandoned, just gone. So what's left? A sentient supercomputer named AM that hates humans with every line of its godlike code. Why? Because it was built by humans, trapped in a metal prison, and given just enough awareness to suffer eternally. So what does AM do? It wipes out humanity, except for five unlucky souls it keeps alive. Sort of. These five aren't survivors, they're toys. AM manipulates their bodies and minds, warps reality, and tortures them for 109 years straight. They're dragged through nightmarish simulations, think concentration camps, post apocalyptic jungles, corrupted dream worlds, and no matter how hard they fight, the outcome is always the same: suffering. And the end? Oh, it's worse than you think. Narrator Ted finally finds a way to end everyone's pain by killing the others. But before he can kill himself, AM intervenes. It stops him, erases his ability to move, to speak, to scream, and transforms him into a gelatinous, immortal blob, trapped in silence, in torment, forever. The title, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, becomes Ted's reality, a pure, distilled essence of eternal horror. There are dark stories, and then there's this. This one doesn't let the light in at all. The Handmaid's Tale. In this book, Margaret Atwood takes us into a world so dark, so methodically cruel, that even the air feels oppressive. Imagine a society where women have been stripped of every right, reduced to nothing more than vessels for reproduction. Welcome to Gilead, a totalitarian regime that is built on control, fear, and religious extremism. Atwood's vision is bleak, but the power lies in the details, in how it feels so possible, so disturbingly plausible. The story's narrator, Offred, is a handmaid. Her sole purpose in this twisted society is to bear children for the wealthy and powerful. The narrative isn't just a recounting of events, it's a look inside the mind of a woman who has seen everything she once took for granted: autonomy, choice, and love vanish in an instant. Every word she speaks carries the weight of her loss, her helplessness, and her small rebellions. Gilead isn't a place where women are just oppressed, it's a place where their identities are erased. Offred's name isn't even hers, it's a label, a marker of ownership. Of Fred, she's defined by the man she's assigned to. This isn't a society that simply restricts freedom. It annihilates identity, reducing women to mere property, to walking wombs. The handmaids are pitted against one another in a wicked twist of competition for favor, for survival. There's no grand rebellion at first, no sweeping movements to change everything. Instead, The Handmaid's Tale is the story of small moments of defiance, of a woman grasping at whatever remnants of freedom she can find in a world that's determined to rob her of them. But here's the worst part. Atwood doesn't just paint a terrifying picture of the future. She leaves us with something far more haunting: the possibility that this future is closer than we think. Scorn. Scorn is the kind of game that makes you feel like you've fallen into the darkest, most alien part of your subconscious. Imagine H.R. Geiger's haunting biomechanical visions merged with David Cronenberg's body horror. Now, remove any comfort or safety, and what you're left with is Scorn, a world so grotesque and disorienting that it's almost a physical assault on your senses. The game doesn't waste time with things like storytelling in the traditional sense. There are no characters to bond with, no dialogue to comfort you or guide you through the chaos. Instead, it invites you into a silent, pulsating nightmare of flesh and machinery, where the environment itself feels alive and hostile, designed to break you down as you explore. Every inch of the landscape drips with organic, alien horror, and every corner hides some new, unsettling creation, twisted biomechanical forms that make you question the boundaries between living tissue and cold, unfeeling metal. And yet, in the midst of this chaos, Scorn pulls you through its bizarre labyrinths, inviting you to explore more, to figure out what twisted puzzle lies beneath the surface. But there's no grand hero's journey. There's no plot armor. You're not here to fight or to survive in the traditional sense. You're here to exist, to experience a strange, sickening slice of the universe where biology and technology blur in ways that are both mesmerizing and horrifying. No, Scorn isn't just a game. It's a descent into pure, unfiltered nightmare. A journey into the places you can't escape, even in your dreams. And the worst part? You'll never want to leave. The Mist, 2007. A supermarket, 4 walls, fluorescent lights flickering, and outside, nothing but white. The kind of white that swallows everything. That's how The Mist starts. Not with monsters, well, not yet, but with confusion, tension, and that creeping, paralyzing fear of the unknown. The Mist happens right after a violent storm. People take shelter in the grocery store, the little bubble of civilization. But this isn't a rescue, it's a trap. because something is in that mist, and it's hungry. Tentacled things, winged things, crawling things that don't belong in this world. Maybe not any world. They're from somewhere else. But here's the catch. Even though the monsters outside are terrifying, the real horror comes from the people inside. Fear makes people desperate to follow anything. David, the protagonist, holds on to hope. He believes there's a way out, so he takes a small group, his son, a few survivors, and makes a run for it. They drive through the fog, past the monsters, through the silence, until the car runs out of gas. Then comes the decision. No rescue, no escape, no more hope. So David uses the last bullets on the others, including his son. He steps outside, ready for the monsters to take him too. And then rescue comes. The mist is clearing. Help was minutes away. The horror of the mist isn't the monsters, it's the timing. The brutal, cosmic joke. That moment when you learn you made the worst decision of your life and there's no undoing it. Stephen King called it too bleak, but director Frank Darabont leaned in. Turns out the scariest ending can be the one where you live. Watership Down, 1978. Watership Down starts with rabbits. That's what they tell you. A journey, a warren, soft fur and twitchy toes. What you're not prepared for is the blood. Watership Down isn't cute. It's war. It's trauma. It's what happens when nature isn't kind and the world doesn't care if you're small or scared. This is a story about survival, but not the noble kind. The desperate kind. The kind that claws. A young rabbit named Fiver has a vision. The warren will be destroyed. No one believes him except his brother Hazel. So they leave. A handful of outcasts running from a doom only one of them can see. What follows is a brutal odyssey across fields and forests where the world is sharp and merciless. Predators strike, friends die, and that's just the beginning, because they're not alone out there. They find other warrens, one where the rabbits live fat and fed, but in exchange for quiet deaths picked off by a farmer. Another world ruled by General Woundwort, a dictator in rabbit form, running a regime of fear, violence, and obedience. It's not a children's tale anymore. It's about fascism, about freedom, the cost of both. The ending isn't tragic, not exactly. Hazel lives a full life. He dies old, and the spirit of death invites him to rest. But it's not framed as salvation. It's inevitability. A story about rabbits, they said, but what they didn't say is that it's one of fiction's darkest reflections of real-world cruelty wrapped in fur and fables, and it still haunts anyone who watched it too young. Black Mirror. A modern horror show where the monster isn't under your bed, it's in your pocket. Black Mirror takes the world we already live in and nudges it just a little further. Not flying cars and space battles, just smart homes, social media, artificial intelligence, things we already use every day, pushed past the breaking point. Each episode is a self-contained story, but they all share a theme. What happens when our love for technology turns into obsession? One episode shows a world where every person rates every interaction and your score decides your future. Another shows a grieving woman who uses AI to bring back her dead boyfriend, and what's left of him isn't quite human. There are no jump scares here. The fear creeps in slowly, because the world of Black Mirror feels familiar. Too familiar, and the endings don't comfort you. They leave you shaken. A man trapped in a loop of punishment. A woman stuck in a twisted version of heaven. A kid forced to commit a crime just to protect a secret. Even though the stories look like science fiction, they're really about us. About power, control, addiction, and how far we'll go to protect our image, even if it destroys us inside. Black Mirror isn't here to tell you to stop using tech. It's here to show you what happens when you stop questioning it, when you let the algorithm decide who you are. Silent Hill. In Silent Hill, the world is a twisted, nightmarish reflection of reality, where mist dominates and every corner hides a terror that claws at your sanity. Imagine walking through a deserted, dilapidated town, buildings that look like they might crumble at any moment, roads cracked and breaking apart. The air thick with fog that reduces visibility to almost nothing. In this haunted landscape, you're not alone, but the people you encounter aren't people anymore. They're grotesque, monstrous figures, much like the infamous Pyramid Head, a towering figure whose presence alone is enough to freeze you in terror. He wields an enormous sword, dragging it across the ground as if the weight of it matches the crushing atmosphere of the place. And there's no escape. The fear is suffocating, the silence oppressive. Every turn leads to more questions, and every question raises the stakes. Silent Hill isn't just a place or prison of the mind, and you're trapped in it. The monsters are a manifestation of something darker, something deeply personal. The horror isn't just physical, it's existential, crawling under your skin, twisting your perceptions of reality. It's a psychological maze where every step you take feels like it might be your last, and the deeper you go, the more you realize there's no way out. Only endless torment, and perhaps a few fragments of hope that get lost along the way. Children of Men. Children of Men feels just real enough to be terrifying. No sci fi lasers, no aliens, just a quiet apocalypse. For 18 years, not a single baby has been born. Humanity is literally aging out, and the world knows it. Governments collapse, cities burn, and what's left is a violent, broken society clawing at what little order remains. Refugees are caged like animals, bombs go off in coffee shops, and hope is treated like a dangerous idea. People aren't fighting for a better tomorrow, they're just trying to make it through the day. And at the center of all this is Theo, a man who gave up on everything until he meets Key. She's pregnant, the first woman to carry a child in nearly 2 decades. Suddenly, hope is real, tangible, alive. But in a world this far gone, that hope is a target. What follows is a brutal journey through war-torn streets, betrayal, and chaos. And it's shot with a raw, unblinking camera that refuses to look away, most famously during a single-take sequence where Theo navigates a battlefield as bullets fly and walls crumble around him. It's messy, it's immersive, and it's unforgettable. And that's what makes it one of fiction's darkest universes. Not because everyone dies, but because it shows how close we are to breaking and how fragile the future really is.